Oh, hey, I hit the wrong button. Welcome to SureFire Live. Hey, guys, thanks for joining me. And gosh, I've got a little Di Serono, a little Amaretto Sour tonight. Hope you guys are having a good night. I hope you guys had a good work week. And it was a busy week this week. So far already this week, I had a group in from my blue collar university, and we spent a couple of days with a great group of guys to learn and plan and go through the troubles of starting and running and growing a business. And so tonight's topic was just that. Got my first, I think this is, I don't know why it says Facebook user. I'm sure this is Cody. He says, it's that time again, folks. Chimney time, baby. Let's talk chimney business. So thank you. I believe that's Cody. I don't know why it says Facebook user on my side. But so it was a little bit of a last second thing on just some ideas. And I've asked two of my good buddies to join me. You know them. They're starting to become famous, and they're two of the best business builders I know. Let's bring on Jake and Chad. Hey, guys.
Hey, Mark. How you doing today?
Mark. Hey, Jake.
Good. How are you guys tonight?
Good, thank you.
Where are you, Jake? I see water in the background.
Yeah, this is my new office.
Is that right? Well, congratulations. We got a hello from Kevin Russell. Kevin Russell, we need to have you on here one night and talk about Warrior Horse for sure. So be planning on coming and being a visitor for us. But so guys, chimney business, my gosh, is it on fire everywhere you are like it is everywhere I am?
Yeah.
Whatever.
We're doing okay.
It's been crazy up here, but I'm up northeast, so people don't have much time to do their thing.
You're
down south anyway.
You're in Vermont, and they got a certain time frame before Father Winter hits, and it's buckle down time.
They're thinking about winter already, so
yeah. What about you, Chad? What are you seeing out there, man?
We're busy. I mean, that's good. We're just we're adding more educator sweeps to us, and we're waiting for that to all hit. But we're getting appointments.
Yeah. So tonight I wanted to talk about, and then Kyle right here he says, yes, I'm on fire. And then also Kevin said he's all in for a phone call. So great. So here's the thing. When I talk to businesses, there's some standard things that happen to inhibit the growth of their companies. And when you talk to them, I made a list before the show of things that I find that makes people not be able to grow if they want to grow. A lot of people think I'm going to grow, it's just going to grow into more chaos. So therefore I don't want to grow. And I want to argue that because yes, it can be chaotic and will be chaotic as you start to grow. But hopefully, if you're some of the younger guys on here or some people watching and they want to grow, but they just can't get through the fire. Some of us are maybe a little bit on the other side of the fire, and you can look at it and go, hey, I want to get there. But there's no doubt there's a fire in the middle that you've got to figure out. And coaches like Chad, consultants like me, and business owners like Jake know that we can help you through the fire, but we can't lift you over the fire or make you go around it or go under it. You got to go through it. Hopefully we help you go through it faster. But is it like that for you guys? Jake, you can start with.
Well, let's see. I've been in business 15 plus years. So, and I didn't come into this business as a technician.
Right.
I mean, I knew how to do it all, but I came in more from the estimator business side, manager side. And so I knew in the beginning that the first thing I needed to do was find a good integrator, right? We're talking about traction and integrator, visionary integrator, somebody that could help me put things in motion, right? And so luckily 13 years ago, I found that person. So it took me 2 years, right? And then, found another great addition and built the business with them, around them. And it's been a marathon, Here we are 15 years later where they're still with me. We looked at a picture the other day and there was 15 people in the picture and the only 3 that were still with us are us 3, And
I'm on a wall like that.
Crazy, ups and downs, and it hasn't been like this. It's been like this, and stalled out a few times. And I guess let go to grow. Like you need to let go of all of the control to help, give it to others so they can help you. That would be my best advice.
That is great. I like the let go to grow. That's a great phrase. What have you found, Chad? What was like so quickly? Jake learned delegation. I did not learn delegation. It took me forever to learn delegation. Where are you on that chart, Chad?
Well, delegation was right out of the military. It was the first thing that I did. Right. I mean, it was everything I did was who can do it better than me and faster, and like right from the get go. And so I would train someone. At first, I didn't have the separation between technician and inspectors. So it was, okay, I'm going to train you to sell. I'm going to train you to do this, but I'm going to put these other things on you to make sure you go to a high level and keep doing that. And that's what I did in the beginning. But I made so many mistakes on how to and who to trust to get there. And what's been on my mind, and I'm not trying to do a shameless plug here, but if you really want to listen to one of my best podcasts, I recorded it and I put it out early, was about relationships. You're on it. I talked about it, and I kept my head down. So my whole, as we always talk about, I didn't know anybody in the industry. And so for me to grow beyond 5 million, I knew I couldn't do it anymore the way I was doing it. And you can say the same thing in 1 million, 2.5 million, 4 million, right? Something's got to give for you to learn something to do, right? Well, for me, it was like, I can't go anymore with what I don't know because I don't know it. And I don't really know where I'm going to go because I feel like I had the market cornered.
Yeah. And you're maxed out probably. Like I always, at every level, I kind of felt like, I don't know how much more I have.
Right.
Like
that's exactly where I was. And I've been at that level 3 times and all of a sudden I bust through it and go, another million over it. Right.
Yeah.
It's like, how did I do that? And so, I mean, we're not on fire. I mean, everyone knows that we're breaking through and training right now and getting to the point where we can have the right people. And so we're actually in a downtime. And so, it's always funny. We're always a little different than everybody. You talk about all the pains that you had back in 2008, 9, and all that. I was building a business and it was doing great at that time.
Right.
And so, like when everybody's up, I'm down. And when everyone starts going like that, I finally figured it out. Maybe I'm just always behind the curve. I don't know. But
well, that's a great point though, because as we train and talk to people, like if I tell you some marketing plan works or some growth strategy works for me, it does not mean that exact strategy is going to work for you in Texas or you in Vermont. We are wildly different. Me and Jake have wildly different businesses. We're very similar in a lot of things. And I see John Caesar on here, very different in the Northeast than in the Mid-South. And you're in the true South. Like we're all just trying to figure out, you can't take something from somebody and go, yeah, they know what they're talking about, or they don't know what they're talking about. If they're successful, they know what they're talking about in their area. And I want to say something real quick. Nice shameless plug from Kevin Russell. Blue Collar University got us blowing through the fire. With growth comes chaos. With chaos comes opportunity. And Kevin is a really neat guy. He's one of the fastest implementers of ideas I have ever worked with. And thank you for that, Kevin. John Caesar says, letting go is the hardest part, but the biggest part. John, if you're listening, I need to talk to you about being on this show in the next week or two. We need to have you on here too. Bart Ogden says, higher up, capital UP. And then and the last one was I literally cried while I was reading Blue Collar Gold. I've been through those struggles of starting and operating and growing a business before. It's a true struggle. It is, but you have to go through it. And the thing that I wish that I would have known before was, well, at the time there wasn't a lot of people to reach out and get help from. But now there's more people and there's more people doing it. So it's like we're going through this thing together. And I'm glad Chad Murray came out from underneath his rock to help us. He has a lot of secrets and a lot of help, and he was just keeping them all to himself. And but no, he's been a great recent addition, and it's been neat to see you help so many people, Chad. I wanted to say I've got a list of about 10 things, and I'm going to say a topic, and I want to get your guys' take on it, what you guys think of it. One of the number one reason people don't grow is as lack of an effective growth strategy. There's no strategy. It's just work as hard as you can and fall on the couch dead. What do you guys talk to me about strategy when you guys were growing your business?
Go ahead, Jake.
Hiring. Again, this goes back to hiring the right people. So it wasn't one of the first things I did, but soon realized that it's one of the first things everybody needs to do is get a solid hiring system. Hope Stevenson helped me tremendously with that. And I've taken that, through a decade of trying to hire. So that would be my number one strategy for growth is hiring well.
What about you, Chad? Strategy.
I'm the no plan strategy guy. So, I say I never have a plan. It's such a lie. I always have a plan.
You always have a plan.
I do. And the thing about it when it came to growing is the first, Jake's exactly right. You got to learn to hire the right people. And then if you don't have that, but to continue on after the hiring is getting them trained correctly and then keeping them in your own company language to get it all right, to do that, to keep your systems in check as you're doing and growing. And then it's just it's sales, keep everybody in check. And then make sure the culture is all working together with all the systems. And so it's such that was a big paragraph because you have so many moving parts to that, right? I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. So back around 2010, I was just gone through 3 or 4 years and the whole country's struggling. I wasn't. Well, come August, we had planned a Disney vacation like 6 months early and already been paid for it, right? I then went, so you want to talk about things not to do? Here you go, everybody. Here's what you don't do. You don't lay people off and go to Disney World. I did that. So I did that in August. And so it wasn't a surprise in October that half of everybody quit. And so don't do that kind of stuff. Plan your future and your finances correctly, because if you don't, Disney World is not the place to go when you're trying to keep people's other families fed. And so,
oh my God, I had to type that out, and I'm putting it out there, dude. I'm putting it out there.
Well, I did it.
Oh my God. Also, that's so funny you say that, because I've had vendors tell me, you know what? I see guys that owe us money and they're showing, their boats or their vacations or all their stuff. And I know as a vendor, they owe me a fortune and they're going and basically spending other people's money, and that's funny. You don't lay people off and go to Disney World. Oh my God. I love that. So a couple quick things. They said Chad has a vision and finds the path to meet that vision, changing it along the way, which is really what Jeff Bezos says they did at Amazon. He says, we picked a path and all of the tactics and strategies to get to here changed. but this didn't change. Where we're going doesn't change. We pick a path and we'll change all the strategies and tactics along the way. And that's kind of probably what you're talking about, Chad, where you don't totally have it worked all the way out. You just know we need to get here. You set, we're going to take that hill. We're going to do this. Today I work with a group and they are, a couple $1 million business. And we kind of were working on a growth strategy and we got excited about what we called 5 by 25, which was they want to hit 5 million by 2025. And it was a great rallying point, 5x25. And they could post that around their shop. They could put it on their shirts. I said, this is a great rallying point, 5 by 25. And everybody knows what that looks like. They don't know exactly how they're going to get there. We can't draw out all the details like you were talking about that. But it was a rallying point. I got another friend, thinks on a different scale. He wants to be 50 by 35, 50 million by 2035. And that's his rallying point. And I think the biggest thing we're talking about is a lack of an effective growth strategy. Throw a number out there. And not so back in 2017, I was on a TV show, and on the TV show, on national TV, I said, we're 5 million today, and by 2021, we're going to be 10 million. I didn't know how we're going to do that. Magically this year, 2021, we're going to be actually well over 10 million. And I just put it out there for the world. I always can't remember because I just told that to the camera. I didn't know they were going to put it on TV. Boom, it's on nationwide. It's out there. So I always had that in mind. And guess what? It's coming to fruition. If you have a growth strategy, write it down, get the whole company on board behind it, and tell everybody where we're going, and we're going to change how we get there. That's a good one. I got to put this up one more time. You don't like to talk about Disney World.
It's a pain point of mine. I feel like you're calling me SpongeBob right now.
That's the kind of. We all have those learning moments. We do. I know Jake does.
No, that's the whole point. You have to. You can't grow and just go from 0 to 5 or 10 million. You have to make a million. You have to, right?
You have to.
Unless you've got a different business. We're in the chimney business, right? I mean, it takes a while to get to where Mark is. Right. Mark went bankrupt, or I don't know, bankrupt, but I
didn't go bankrupt, but I went broke, totally broke, and got lost everybody.
So I mean, if you haven't lost all your employees yet, well, that might happen to you. It's a very good chance.
I didn't go bankrupt because I didn't have any credit at the time. So
it happened to me. So.
I've been bankrupt.
What did you say?
I said I've been bankrupt. So there you go.
If I had credit, I would have been bankrupt. I didn't have any credit. So.
Right.
So awesome. Okay. Here's another one. They're working with a dysfunctional team, whether it be, this is an inhibitor. What I run into is they're working with someone inside the team that's dysfunctional, either an employee that's got a lot of power, a wife, a husband, or a somebody high level in there, and the team cannot get out of their own way. Talk about that, Jake. Dysfunctional.
Stressing me out already, Mark. Well, yeah. I mean, it seems to always be one of your most important people because honestly, when you're a business that's a small business, everyone's really important. So. I just had, let go one of my best salesmen, that I've had for 3-4 years, and it was really painful. And but every time you have to do that, you always realize that people rally around you. They're happy that, not happy, but the team becomes more cohesive. Things somehow end up being better.
Let me ask you this: what was painful about it?
Well, he's a good salesman. So you got to fill the gap, fill the void. And just in some cases, you might be taking a step backwards in order to take 2 steps forward, And in this case, luckily we had some good people to fill in behind him. So it wasn't that much pain. But, we all have stories like that.
I talked about, I've got a big mural in my office of all my past employees, our current and past employees. Like everybody gets painted on this mural. And I went looking at the mural today, and I've said it before, but I can look at the people on the mural, and if they're still with me, I know the contributions they gave to us to help grow. But if they're gone, I almost can look at them and go, you know what? That guy helped me write the policy about drugs. That guy helped me write the policy about non-compete. That guy, like I can look at them and know who helped me. All of them, good or bad, helped me grow the company. Either I made a policy or a procedure or a thing when the bad didn't work, or the good people fought the battles with me, and a lot of them are still with me. And some of them just had to go on their own way, and I wish them the best. And they helped us move the needle a little bit. So they're all they're all part of you. But your thing, and I want to get to you, Chad, about this, is your role as the owner is to put the team together and get the people off the team that are causing dysfunction. So, Chad, you work with a lot of people. What kind of, or even in your own company, what kind of dysfunction do you see that holds people back?
I literally just helped a guy come to fruition to let go a family member in his business like an hour ago.
Yes.
Literally.
Why did they have to get rid of a family member? What was happening?
The guy's a bad apple, and he's not growing with the culture, what they're doing. And I mean, when I first start coaching someone, the first thing I gotta do is go through their whole employee list so I get to hear who's what. And I pick up I do this for me to see, I'm doing that function to see who's the bad apple, because they're gonna say something. All right, this is John. Yeah, John's our best guy, but you hear how I said that? John's our best guy. And you hear how he said it, how I just said that. Okay, your best guy, that's how you talk about your best guy. Or you get down to someone say that, and I know, I have a feeling that this guy's going to come up pretty quick that there's a problem. And so it inevitably, it's within the first 2-3 weeks, I'm getting a text, a late night text. Hey, this guy's really giving me some, malarkey right now. What do I do? I'm like, well, and we coach it on. I mean, so here's a great example. I mean, I had a guy a few years back during hunting season. I'm at my cabin a lot. I coach from the cabin a lot in the fall. I'm at my cabin. This guy, I trained him. I like this guy. I personally trained this guy in a truck. Came out of retirement, trained a few educators back then. This is like 4 or 5 years ago. And he starts just calling me up and just berating me. I don't even work there, and he's just calling up and being an asshole. Sorry for the whatever, but he's just doing like that, and I'm just like, okay, are you having a bad day? Are you on something? And so he's got good sales. He does all his stuff right, but he's just calling up and being like this to me, and I'm like, okay, I'll pass. Whatever. The guy's just having a bad day. Well, a week later, does it again. I let this go on for like 7 or 8 weeks. And as everyone knows, I don't put up with stuff like this, but I don't get how this guy even made it to week 2, but he did. He kept doing it to me, and I kept bringing it around to try to help this guy. And this is the point I wanted to make. When there's turning rotten, you can try to help, but guess what? It ain't gonna happen. You don't usually take a rotten apple and make him green and red again. And I'm sorry, that's a unicorn scenario if you've done it, and maybe you've done it. I have never succeeded in the long term of changing him. Short term, possibly. Long term, never.
If they turn on you like that on that respect level, it's about over. And I've been guilty of trying to keep on a high performer that might challenge me, and I don't mind being challenged if it's in the right way, because I'm right 99% of the time, but not 100% of the time. But I know exactly what you're saying, and I remember I was consulting with the company one time, and their number one guy brought in a lot of money for them, yet was abusive to the owner, and was very much just challenging. And literally, like one time, I think threatened to, kick his butt in front of other people. And like, but he was the number one guy to get it done for them. And I remember sitting in the room and said, look, okay, so let me get this straight. If I make you enough money in your company, I can threaten your other employees, I can threaten you, and I can not listen to anything you say. Is that what you're saying? And he went, oh my God. I said, that's what you're saying. You're saying that you can put your integrity to the side. I can be threatening to your whole company. And actually, there was like a sexual harassment claim from something else. I can do all this to your company and you're okay with it because I make you some money? He fired the guy that day. He's like, now that you put it that way, Stoner, I can't take it. And it was there was some other people there in that meeting, and they all like said, this is the guy has got to go, even though he's your number one guy. Let me get to some of these. Oh, I've got a chant for. Go ahead. I got a chant for you. Masters is 20 million by 2028.
Okay, baby. I have a funny story before I take the next one because it has to do with SureFire. So thank you, everybody, for the congratulations to my wife's birthday last week. We rewatched it again. So we pull up to Olive Garden 5 miles down the road. Cody has made all of Masters educators watch the show. It's part of their program. They have to watch the show.
Oh, wow.
I pull up to Olive Garden, check it out. Our new commercial guy is at Olive Garden. And so I walk in, and I don't know it's him because I don't know who's driving what trucks. I walk in, and I see this guy, and he's talking to his wife. I know I'm on SureFire on my phone watching you guys from Olive Garden, right? And I'm like, so I text Cody. I go, isn't this guy supposed to be on SureFire? He goes, yeah, he said he had to go do something. I said, I'm looking at him in Olive Garden with his wife right now. They fired him the next day. The guy fired him last Thursday.
My God. That's what we call sure-fired.
So,
oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Kyle says, my CFO hates me sometimes because I have a vision and we make a plan different from the plan because I find a better way to hit our goal early or have to readjust with a business strategy. Yeah, that's a lot of us visionaries. And, me and Jake had a conversation about that. We have a lot of plans and we move and shake. And sometimes you need the implementer. That's a traction thing to get your visionary side done. That being said, just to put a button on this dysfunctional team thing, there's a book called 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, Patrick Lencioni. Highly recommend that if you're having team issues. 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, great book. And it's usually people or the alignment. And let me just talk about that real quick. I've had more people issues, but I've had several big alignment issues where I had a really good person. They're just in the wrong position on the team. And a quick example, and I use it a lot, is my metal fabricator. He came on as a subcontractor. I got him so busy, he became a full-time sweep. He was good problem solver, but he was actually kind of a terrible chimney sweep. He didn't like the route, all the jobs in a day, the time frames, all the paperwork, all the pictures, all the customer communication. He's just not that kind of guy, but he's very creative. And I told him, I said, man, we're about to have an explosion. I want you on this team. You're one of the most talented guys I know, but this is not working. At the same time, he was making my chase covers and some caps in his garage on the side. I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to build a full-time metal shop, and you're going to run it. He's like, man, I don't think we've got enough work for me to do that. But I said, we'll figure it out. I'm pretty sure I can fill up your work. And I said, worst case scenario, we go back and you run a truck a few days a week or whatever. I'm telling you, it saved him, and it made a big growth in our company because he was happy. He could work on a Sunday if he wanted to and not come in on Monday. I said, I don't care when you work. I need these things done every week. And if there's a list to get done, get it done. And you can work late in the day and not come in the next day. Just get my stuff done. I pay him on commission. He gets a percentage on every cap. One of the best things I've ever done in my life to a guy I was about to lose changed because I had him misaligned. And I've had that happen several times in my company where it was a good person. It's just the role I had him in, I had to change the role. You guys ever have an alignment?
That's happened to me a few times as well. And I don't know. Most of the time I don't catch it until it's too late.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes it does get too late. I was almost too late with him, and I did an exercise with him and realized, how I needed to change him. What about you, Chad? Do you ever work on alignment in your company?
Always too late. I've never made it work. I'm not lying. So I've caught it too late. We brought some people back before
sometimes
try to make their position a little different, but never works out.
Sometimes you just don't have the capacity in the business to create the position for the person, So,
right?
That's fair. And you don't, and you can't always move the company for a person.
Yeah.
But if there's a good fit somewhere, or you can find it can be magical. It's a hard one to find. Quick question: one of the Facebook users said, "Just join. What topics are you discussing?" We are talking about the problems of growth, some of the big barriers when you try to grow a company, and so feel free to rewind this episode and catch up with some of the stuff we're talking about. But good topic there. Okay, I have another topic that is a roadblock, which is I can't hardly read my own writing. Ineffective sales process. I can tell you that I didn't realize how bad we were at sales until we really looked at sales. I never thought of us as a sales company. We go out, we do chimney safety inspections, we show you what's wrong, we email you the bid, and hey, if you want to do it, do it. I'm already busy enough. And that was kind of what we did until we started working with Alan Rush, really concentrating on our sales. And we missed the whole point that about sales. And I want to circle back after I hear from you guys, but tell me about your sales process and how do you focus on how important is it to your daily, the way you run your company? I'll start with Chad this time.
That's exactly what our problem is right now. And so that's what so I started analyzing last year, during COVID, because we went from 2014 all the way to 2019 gangbusters. I mean, double 2.5 times our business. So, I mean, we literally went from 2 million to almost 5 million in that span of that 5-6 years. And so all of a sudden COVID hits. I lose a couple key guys in sales. Cody stays with me. We literally went down to Cody only last in Dallas and one guy in Houston. That was it. So we were down to that. And then we never recovered to get the right guys in place even through the last fall. So we did not have a great fall. We didn't have a great fall no matter what. Even if we'd had the right guys, it would have been better. But I had noticed as now we were down to almost starting over again with our sales team. What is our process? And I have a good process with a limited amount of what we sell. So we started expanding what we can bring on board. Doing some more masonry work, doing some more tuck pointing. So I'm watching this through the fall, and I'm getting to the point where about 4 months ago, I'm like, okay, I watched the last year. I'm now looking at the numbers from the years past. I can duplicate 5 million pretty quick. I will next year. And we're already on a path to doing that now. But what I've noticed is not just my process, which is still getting better, is I never staffed it right. So I never had enough all the time. And then I didn't train them right. So now our whole program now is Cody has a sales meeting every morning, and we talk, and they talk. We have a 6-week educator program before they go out and start doing easy stuff. They have to call in every job that they show up to the first 2 weeks. And then they have to sell it to Cody or another manager before they go in to do it. And so we have this whole process down how to do it. And we're not in the Northeast looking at boilers and all that stuff. It's all easy chimney, water leak stuff and stuff like we don't have clearance issues. So it doesn't take really but 2 to 3 weeks to train them our inspection form, our how to write it up, how to recognize everything and move on. But I wasn't staffing right. I need 5 to 6 guys all the time. I need to be hitting the numbers of 80 to 90,000 every week when my bills are around 60. And I'm not because I don't have enough people, but I have the appointments and it's been killing me for years. And so finally we hired that consultant to hire how to hire. You know, I don't know Hope yet. I'll meet her in a couple weeks. You know, maybe Jake can fill me in a little bit on how Hope did on how to hire more people and better people. But you know, we're in that process of always hiring and always having someone in training as educators. And we're bringing that to the crew leader too. We're never not having apprentices. Never. As soon as we're fully staffed, we're having 1 or 2 apprentices at all times. That's our path.
You're building. So you had a sales process. It worked for a little bit. It stopped working. You're revamping it, making it better. So you clearly understand that you have to have a sales process. My thing is, a lot of chimney companies don't think they need one or have one at all. And as you grow, it exposes a weakness in your company, because the owner is always going to be a great salesperson. The owner doesn't need training. He's going to be the best, or he won't even have work, and he's going to have work. It's not the owner. It's not even the next guy. It's 5 guys, 6 guys, 10 guys. That's where your sales process really opens up. If you're a 1-man, 2-man truck, you sell great. You are the sales process, and your results just show up on the schedule. That's not when you need a sales process. Jake, what do you have on a sales process, or what do you guys do?
Well, a while back we hired Alan as well. I would say 7, 8 years ago, and just to be able to have numbers to compare people against has been a huge eye opener. So when you're sending out one of your technicians out into the field and they're coming back and their average ticket is $300 versus this other guy who is $1,000, right?
Yeah.
So every day you're sending out this guy, or every opportunity, you're realizing you're losing $700 every single time he talks to a customer.
That's right.
And that pretty much solves your issue right there. Like, you know that you either need to train up this guy, or I basically break it in. Well, that's the end of that story. But so having the numbers, knowing, making sure that the guys know how to sell, you know, the whatever process you follow, we still follow Alan's process. But I always try to have one person, a sales manager, and I break it into 2 sections, the front end and the back end. And if we can spend most of our time making sure that the front end, that we've sold everything we can, that we've provided the customer with a proper estimate, the right price, we've ordered all the right materials, then it goes to the back end and it solves a lot of the problems on the back end. So by having a bulletproof sales process and front end, you're saving yourself running around in circles on the back end.
And also, you're keeping your pipeline full, right? Because some guys have their chimney sweeps, their chimney guys that do the repairs too, doing all their estimates, and then those same guys do all the work. And I did that for years, did it for a super long time. But what happens is you get a wave like this. The guys go out, sweep a lot of chimneys, book a lot of work. Then they stay doing all their work, and
there's no rhythm, right?
Yeah, there's no rhythm.
There's no rhythm.
Having guys that are in sales all the time, it keeps that constant feed in the system, and then it smooths out your sales, your pipeline. So
it's harder to train a good salesman how to do all the work too. Like, that's like a unicorn kind of. You need a guy that's been around for a long time to be able to be a great technician and know everything and sell as well. Like, takes a long time.
I've got one Facebook user saying running 6 to 8 appointments a day was murdersome. By the end of the day, the customers could tell we were exhausted. Now we're 4 to 5 max, and Chad's calls the office out if they schedule us too much. Calls the office out if the schedule's too much, because he wants to have the right amount of time to show the customer what's important to us. Perfect. So let me just say this. If you got a guy that is not selling anything, and one, you got to watch the numbers, but let me just put a different, and I've said this before, I think a person that doesn't close or sell many jobs is dangerous, because we all know how much damage is on chimneys, how many safety issues there are. And if you've got a technician that just isn't closing the work, there's a couple things happening. Either he's not seeing it, he's not properly trained, he doesn't want to see it. In other words, if he has to do the work, he doesn't find the work. And I've mentioned this before. I had guys that didn't like tuck pointing. Magically, they never found tuck pointing to do. They don't like rip and replace. Magically, they don't find any rip and replaces to do. Or don't like doing liners. Nobody needs a liner. That's dangerous. Secondly, let's say they find all the problems and their estimate shows a bunch of problems, but nobody buys. That's dangerous because the technician is not relaying properly to the homeowner the need for the work to be done. So when we're talking about sales, this is not something greedy, something pie in the sky, something we shouldn't have to do. Let me tell you, this is as much of a safety issue as any other safety issue. If your guy's not finding it and properly communicating to the customer, he's dangerous out there. So you need to watch your numbers to know if you've got a guy out there just running leads and blowing through chimney sweeps and not finding any problems or communicating the problems. That's my gut feeling about it. Hope you feel the same. All right, so I've got the next thing that is a problem for growth. And this is happening more than I think it should, which is poor cash flow. Let me just talk about it for a second. And one of the things for cash flow that happened to me was when I was small, or a smaller company, I had good cash flow because I did the work. I could sell the right amount of work. I was efficient. I got the work done. Cash flow. And in this chimney business, cash flow is pretty easy. It's one of the easiest cash flow businesses there are because you're getting paid every day. You're getting checks every day or every couple of days, and you've got a pretty decent cash flow compared to other types of businesses. But what happens is as you expand, that the guys don't sell as well as you did. They don't complete as well as you did. And you start getting booked out with these bids that may not be great. And right now, your expenses are going up while your bids are hanging out there for 3-4 months. And you're losing money on the bid every single day. And by the time you complete it, you need that money so bad that you got to sell the next bunch of jobs to get cash flow. So I've seen guys in the busiest time have cash flow problems. They got a full schedule and they're running out of cash. What do you guys do to manage cash flow?
I hired a CFO.
Get help. Same here.
Well, we have a little bit of our curve for slow season is, since masonry is our 70% of our business, I'd say. And January, February, and March, actually most of December, we don't really have masonry to do. So we only have, 75% of the year to do that. So our cash flow goes way down, and then we spend another, 4 or 5 months trying to get back just to, break even. And so that's what he said, just, we're really trying to fill the slow season better, so yeah. Push work, whatever it is. I mean, start a new business. I don't know exactly we're getting better, but we still have a long way to go. So
cash flow is a tough thing. You can be super busy and run out of cash. I've done it. I've struggled with it. It can happen. It can strike if you don't have, even if you have some things in place, it can strike, especially if you take on big projects that string out your cash. Sometimes big projects can absolutely ruin you by the time you get paid on it. But Chad, what's some tips you do for cash flow?
Take the right deposit if you do big jobs. That's the first thing. And a lot of people do wrong deposits and then not fund to. You have to fund. If you're taking a deposit, you got to fund the material and the labor to your potential first check. That's the first thing. I've done hundreds of thousands of jobs or dollar jobs for commercial work on hail jobs on apartment complexes. And the first thing we do is, okay, if we're starting on the first, we make all the they always want to pay you 30 days. We won't sign a contract that down on a big job. We make him pay on the following Friday of the completion that was done for the following week. We make them change their standard, so I don't have a cash flow problem with them, and I've never had a problem with it. Yes, totally. And so also when it came, I mean, we didn't have much of a problem from, like I said, from 14 to 19, but we do have a couple lines of credit that if we started getting a little bit lower in the off season, I would use it. Okay, I don't want to go under $100,000 in my business ever. I could probably do that, but I don't mind paying 8% to take a little insurance that we're comfortable and go from there to draw back, pay it off really quickly by October, and then we're back to that's how we've done. We also don't bill at all. I mean, it is upfront part of our sales process. You're paying us when we're done, and and that's how we work everything.
Having a good relationship with a banker is probably the number one solution.
Yeah. So one of the Facebook users, I wish I could see people's names. I don't know why. Maybe you got to give permission or something. But it says, I have a line of credit. We use when needed 2 times a year and only use to grow. So, in that point, like what Jake said, having a line of credit, when do you need to go get the line of credit? When you don't need it. You need to go get the line of credit when you got a bunch of money and when you've got and things are paid and you've got a good cash flow in the business. And when they look at it, also one problem a lot of chimney companies get into is they don't actually look good to the bank because they try to write all of the profit off and don't not pay taxes to the man. But when you do that too much, when the bank looks at you, you don't look like a good credit risk. So there's a balance. That's where you need a chief financial officer and accountant to balance what you look like to the bank that you are a good credit risk. You do need to take out some things that you pay credit on. One of the problems I had forever is I just paid cash for everything. And when I went to try to get my first line of credit, my company had no credit. They had no credit history. So they're like, we can't loan it. We'll loan it to you on your personal. Well, that gets pretty dangerous when you start tying all your personal finances to your business. So line of credit, take deposits, stay in front of the money is what Chad was saying, which I love that. Stay in front of it. They owe you. Let them pay you the deposits. Let them pay you before the work. Let them pay for all the materials, even the labors you go. I'll tell you one other thing, and I think I talked about it before. Recently, this year, I had a contractor not paying me about $60,000. We had a $120,000 project we did for an apartment complex that got wind damage or tornado damage. We finished the project, did all of our part, did everything, and he didn't have the money. He spent my money basically when it came time to pay me. And I'd known this guy for 20 plus years. He had a COVID issue. He had all these excuses, but I'd known him forever. Good friend of mine, actually. And I said, look, and I gave him all the chances to pay us. And I said, look, he ran into a cash flow problem, but I said, here's the problem. Here's what I'm going to do. If you don't pay me after like the 10th time I've sent him warnings and everything, I said, I'm going to send you a 1099 on the money you were supposed to pay me. And it's going to trigger an audit from the IRS. And it's going to cause you to have problems if I send you a 1099 that wasn't claimed. Magically, I started getting paid $5,000 a month for 12 months. So you have to stay in front of the money. A big job can really hurt your cash flow, especially if you're not getting weekly draws like Chad was saying, or you don't have a line of credit like Jake was saying that can back you up while you get through it. So good stuff. I
gotta say one thing, Mark, here, and you touched on this earlier, but I want to make one more to it. 2016, after 14 and 15 being so good, my 2013 sucked. It wasn't all that great. So I fudged 16 to pay more taxes. I cheated to make me look better.
Yes.
And paid more taxes in. I don't feel like I'd ever do that again, but I had to do it. And it did help me in the future with my commercial credits and stuff like that.
Right. So, you can't always drain all the money out and think everybody thinks you're a profitable business. When you make the government look like you're broke, the banks look like you're broke too, unless they want to tie it to your personal. So you got to be careful with that. Looks like Masters does 25% down on commercial and won't release inspection reports or required repairs until balance is paid. Exactly. You got to hold something back. When you pay us, we'll release it. We do that a lot with our real estate stuff. Like when you pay, then we'll release the reports. Another Facebook user says taxes are worth paying to create balance in your life. I carry a line of credit, 100K. Another guy says, good topic. I want to stay, but people need me. Good night. Can you explain the situation with the 1099 more in depth? So basically, I made it because I was supposed to get paid. And since he was a contractor, I was going to turn it around on him that I had to pay him. So he owed me $60,000 and I was supposed to get paid for it. And he kept the money. So I was going to send him a 1099 for the 60K that basically I paid him as a vendor. Now, I'm telling you, it was a threat that worked. I'm not, check with your accountant first. I'm just telling you how I got paid. When I told him it was going to cause an audit to him, he freaked out from the IRS because the one thing that you can scare people with is an IRS audit. So I'm just telling you, that's just what I used to get paid, and it worked. How does sending? So if you send the 1099 late, if you send it after, like he's done his taxes, that's what I'm talking about. That triggers the audit. Then all of a sudden it wasn't reported on his income, on his taxes, and it triggers an audit with the IRS, especially if it's a bunch of money. So I'll do an amended return to do it, and he'll get that, and then if he doesn't claim it, he'll have to. It could trigger an audit. I was audited multiple times by the IRS because of another contractor not doing something right, and I was in this string of audits, and I got audited year after year after year for a while till they finally let up on me. Okay, so next thing. We are 52 minutes in. These hours fly by. I appreciate you guys sticking with me tonight. So this was an interesting one to me. I wrote down poor development or infrastructure, like as far as a barrier to growth. When I consult with some companies, there's almost no infrastructure. And one of the things when I was having trouble growing was my organizational chart. Like it was me and 17 employees across the board. I had no managers. I had me and all 17 employees pretty much reported right to me. If their paycheck is wrong, Mr. Smith is pissed at us to order the equipment. This is broken. Any problem across the board and me was how I had my infrastructure set up. And I had built a company that I absolutely hated to walk into because as soon as I walked in, it felt like everybody was throwing fireballs at me. I had a million questions and my Nextel phone was lighting up constantly with problems. And so I personally know the feeling of developing a poor business org chart with no infrastructure built in at all. It was me and the masses. How do you guys have your businesses set up infrastructure, and what are maybe some of the mistakes you made on infrastructure?
Go ahead, Jake.
I can't even believe that I used to schedule at some point in time. I don't know how the business survived. I really don't. So yeah, you learn as you grow. You find people that if you're able to give them the things that you suck at. And so that was one of the things that I was pretty good at. I sucked at a bunch of stuff and I was like, hey, you're much better. So yeah, putting people.
Is that what your ad said? I need people that suck that I don't suck at.
So anyway, yeah, the structure, you don't want to be like Mark with you on the top of everybody.
Right.
No.
So try to put people in place that insulate you from everything. Not everything, but I'm saying, you only have enough capacity. You're only good at certain things, and stay right where you're naturally good at, and then hire people to do the rest.
Right. What about you, Chad? What about infrastructure? How did you figure it out? What are some mistakes you made with it?
Well, first of all, it was my wife running the call center and me on the truck. That's how the company started. And I started my whole company with 2 trucks. So that was the origination of how I started. And then as I grew, it was added another call center person, added another truck, added another call center person, and added more trucks. And then at some point in time, I'm not a truck. I'm kind of a half truck. I'm running the call center with my wife. running the trucks, and then it's like, okay, who's paying the bills? My wife, who's the accountant here? And then my wife, too busy with having kids and then running that. It's like, okay, we gotta hire an in-house bookkeeper / CFO. We did that. And then as we kept growing, all of a sudden our shop, we started making chimney caps 19 years ago. It's like, well, I can't do that. I started it, but now I can't. I'm not the cap maker.
Me neither.
And I did suck at making caps too. And so, I learned to get better and better and better. And then I started learning how to deal with flat metal. But then I had to hire someone to do it because I can't. It's not my job description. I'm running the company. I'm not a cap guy. Right. So I brought in cap guy, and then I made him a manager. And now I have a manager there. Each department kept going to where whoever was running it was always running another department. So I had to separate and find another manager for that department.
That's right.
It gets to a point where you have to do that.
That's exactly the point. If you're listening and you're one thing I did with a group today was the chief operations officer. We wrote down everything he did in the day. And it was 20 things. It was like everything in the company that wasn't getting done by somebody else. And we took his list of things he needed to do, and we created like a $15 an hour position that took off 10 of the low-hanging fruit things that he didn't do. Build carts, running to Home Depot, going to the brickyard, all the things he did in a day, it made a part-time position for somebody else. And so that is an easy win where you can take if you're way overloaded or getting burned out, take the low-hanging fruit and hand it off. Also, at the front of all of if you've got a sweep division and a repair division and a sales division and masonry, somebody needs to be in charge of each one of those. You've got a person that's probably the best at it. Put them as a lead, not a manager where all they do is they still work, but they're the first line of defense for you. They make sure that their team has what they need, or they are the first call when there's a problem. Put barriers up in every division you have. There's got to be somebody in charge of it, and it should not be the owner, right? Sometimes your hat's and everything, but get your hat out of the ring on every single thing. And as you do that, you develop lines of communication through the company that it can't just jump to you right off the bat. The guy that has a problem with his paycheck that's a new helper can't call the owner and say, hey, why is my check wrong? You have to set up. Just look at your company, draw it out on an org chart, and every division that you have that's different, set up a manager. Even if everybody does everything and everything is a sweep repair division, somebody needs to be the boss of that, and it's not you. Even quickly, only if you got 2 or 3 trucks, make somebody else the boss of that and maybe pay them a little extra or do something for them and set up a division between you and all of the work. And I promise you, it'll help you not be burned out. Therefore, only 3 or 4 or 5 people, depends on how big your company is, but not as many people can report to you and get to you. Because what happens is decision fatigue. If you don't have these things set up, you have everybody breaking down your door asking you to fix everything, and you get real tired and real angry.
There's one other thing, Mark. Once you do delegate and you have, say, a couple managers, then part of your job becomes teaching them or making sure that they can delegate too, because what they're going to do is say, yeah, or they're used to whatever, going and getting couplers at the store, when really, my 16-year-old could be running to get couplers. I need you here to manage this part. You're the best person to do this. I can't have you going to get couplers. So when you're so busy, let's look and see what you do every day.
Right.
The bottom 5 things, let's figure out who you're going to give those to. So you start managing your managers so that they're better at managing the rest of the company.
It's the only way to scale. Most people, their infrastructure is just messed up, so they can't move the needle. And the next thing you do is become somebody who develops leaders. And that's the funnest thing, is when you start developing leaders inside your business, man, that's an exciting time to watch your business run. Got a couple quick comments. Kyle, this is perfect. You don't call Henry Ford when your truck don't work. And I've heard it say too, the chef doesn't bust the tables, right? When you're needed at a certain level, you have to delegate out a lot of these positions that can be delegated out. And I'll give you an example. In my chocolate company right now, I have a high level pastry chef, confectionery girl that really runs the daily operation. One of the problems I have in there is that she also, at the end of the day, has to clean the floors and clean the place before she gets out of there. She's too high level to be cleaning. I'd be better off having her produce, and bring a cleaning crew in behind her to help her stay in high production mode. When she says she's at capacity, she's not really. I've just got her doing some things that I've got to get off her hands. You need to look at your business that way and say, if everybody's feeling burned out, where can we get some easy wins and hand some stuff off or pay some more people to help you go to the next level and scale? Bart Ogden says, I highly recommend The Effective Manager by Mark Horstman. I have not read that. Have you guys, anybody read that?
Yeah, I got something for you. Mike Fazy went to Next Gen. It's a huge $30 million HVAC company in California that really scaled only in the last 3.5-4 years from 0 to 30 million.
Wow.
And when he got there, he's doing the tour and he's talking to all the managers. He's not just talking to the owner. He's literally getting passed around to leader by leader, manager by manager. And this one manager goes there towards the end of the day, and Mike starts seeing these people drop off their trucks and see this guy starts cleaning their trucks for him. And he goes, you know what we call our crew guys? He goes, what? Princesses. And he's like, okay. So what does that mean? He goes, we treat our crews like princesses. They don't clean their own trucks. We have a cleaning crew come in every night and clean their trucks, load their trucks. We want those guys out doing high level stuff, not cleaning their truck every night. And so I'm going to start that come fall. And so that they don't have to come back and do that. They can be on more jobs because let's face it, if they've got, a 4-row rebuild or, bricks, they got all this brick in the truck. They got to come back and spend an hour cleaning their truck.
Yeah, it's a great idea. They're tired. They're dead dog tired. A lot of times when they come back, they don't want to clean the truck. The next morning, are they supposed to get there early and clean the truck? No, they run out in a dirty truck. That's a great point. I like that idea. I haven't heard, this next person says this. I don't know what this is. Would any of you consider an OOP, Office of the President, escalation track like several larger industries? I don't know what that is. Do you know what that is? Office of the President, escalation track?
I'm going to go Google it.
Okay. Kyle says, I have a small 6-man company. Everyone knows that there are a few questions you can ask. There are only a few questions you can ask me. And there are a chain of people, even with my small company. I use Chad's tree after the convention to get the point across the staff. Exactly. Chad, can you hire someone to clean my truck?
Not you educated.
No, that's an idea. We're in the idea phase.
Yeah, right. I don't know who the president is.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is. Here's one thing, and maybe this helps that person ask that question. I think when you're trying to teach leadership to your company, you don't just teach it to some people and have certain people on a leadership track. I think if you're going to teach leadership, you teach everybody leadership. You teach it all the way down because you honestly don't know who's going to be a great leader. Sometimes they're real quiet and you can't just pick them out, and you're not all wise and go, you know what, you're a leader and you're not, we'll wait on you. You don't know. So whenever we try leadership training or any kind of training, I want to train everybody in it because no matter if they become a leader or not, that training will help them in some way. Could help them leadership in their life, could help leadership in their church, could help leadership in their home or their kids or their school or whatever. So just because that leadership training doesn't help in your company, which it probably will, leadership training, if the people want it, you need to give it to everybody across the board in your company and not think that you know everything to decide who gets the training or not. Now, is it more expensive, more time consuming? Yeah, but you start building a company of leaders. And the thing that I look around in my company now is I got a bunch of leaders, and man, they fight a lot of battles with me every day. I mean, they have been through a lot of wars with me, and we run a smooth operation that has got a lot of battle-hardened guys and girls that have been through it with me. And I've always treated them at the same level across the board. There's not certain hierarchies or anything. From the new guy coming to work for me, I'll give you all the respect I can and all the training, to the guy that's been with me forever. So maybe that answers that question of Office of the President. Well, guys, we are an hour and 5 minutes. I try to keep it right at an hour. I appreciate you guys. I called a audible at the line of scrimmage, and these guys came and ran and were my wide receivers tonight. So anything else you guys want to close with?
Go ahead, Jake. You got anything?
No, I appreciate you having me on, Mark. I mean, there's a lot of things to learn. There's a lot of mistakes to make, but it's a marathon. And if we can just, don't get caught up in all this. Like, there's so much to learn. You just gotta just be confident and listen. Get coaches. Get people that can help you. Listen to podcasts. Read books, and if you put enough work into it, you're bound to succeed. So,
yeah, great point.
Don't be afraid to fail, and get yourself in trouble. That's really what I tell people.
I heard that's a new saying. Well, quick question before we go. This is a major problem for our 5-person company, delegating jobs, roles, and having the tree chart you talked about. How would you recommend having a chart for a company with the owner, lead tech, and 2 techs? I'll tell you a couple things that I would say real quickly before we close out. You need to build an org chart that is almost not real. You build out what you want it to be, although your name is in several of the positions. And this is, a lot of people know this tactic. You build the company you want on paper. And I do this for everybody that comes to Blue Collar University. We build it out imaginary first, because you have to imagine it before it becomes real. So your name is the owner and 2 techs. But at one point, you can say, okay, number 1 tech, you're going to be in charge of chimney sweep down the road. You're number 2 tech, you're going to be in charge of installation down the road. And as an owner, I'm going to be in charge of sales, or whatever you want. And you build it out, and you can build a tree with one company. You're the only person can build out a tree. Yeah, your name is in everything, and your goal is to replace yourself in the roles. Right now, in my company, I used to do everything. I was a one-man operation for 17 freaking years. 17 years, I was one person, okay? So I get this. And at the time I decided to build out org charts and think differently about this business as a true business, I then started to expand and faster handed off all the roles that I was doing until I just pretty much do what I want to do, what I like to do, and what I'm competent at. Do you guys have anything different on how you would build it out for a small company?
It's a great idea, Mark.
Yeah, you're on it.
Okay, so I think we got it. And Kyle, and I love this. I fail all the time, fail forward. Favorite book ever, Failing Forward, John Maxwell. Highly recommend it. I've learned a lot from failures, and I think we all have. Nobody here is trying to tell everybody that not to fail. We're saying fail fast, get up, keep running, get help, and keep moving. Like Jake said, it's a long race, but with all of us, it's getting faster. I love watching how fast companies are growing and what they're doing. I mean, Kyle just started his company, I think, not long ago, and he's up to 6 people. I was 17 years by myself. I mean, this is awesome.
That is awesome.
All right, guys, have a good night. I appreciate you guys very much.
Thank you very much.
Pick your time to go to Disney World.
That's my favorite advice ever. You guys. Oh my gosh, I love these guys. Thank you guys for helping me on the show. Thank you guys for tuning in to SureFire Live. We do it every Tuesday night, and we have a nice group of people still on. If you have topics you want covered, please send me an email, mark@ashbusters.net. Be happy to pick up on some things. If you have a good guest for us that you think, hey, this person needs to be on the show, please let me know. I've got some really good guests lined up, but I'm always open for ideas. Chad had a great thing with a business roundtable. Maybe we'll do a roundtable on this with a bunch of business owners and go around that horn with some ideas or problems that people are having. And all right, so the last one, it says, thanks, Mark. Been feeling burned out lately with work, hoping to take this advice and implement it. Man, love that. You do have to figure out how to not be burned out. You know, there's that chart, if you're watching, where you're high performance survival mode and it drops into burnout. And you can be a high performance guy, but if you're out of gas, you can push the gas all day long and the car is not going to go anywhere. So you got to take care of yourself. All right, guys, have a good night. Appreciate everyone. We'll talk to you next week.